Half Size Me, episode 708, brought to you by the amazing Half Size Me Academy. To join us, please go to halfsizeme.com/join. Hello, lovely listeners. Today we are going to be getting to hear another episode of the interviews I did from Sabotage to Success. And this time we're going to be doing it with Erin. Now, what I really like about Erin's episode is she shares a very common thing I hear when it comes to how lower brain chatter can mess up your way of eating and impact you with your calories, which is she goes on vacation. She always plans to eat at maintenance, but she always goes over maintenance. And then she feels super frustrated, spins out, and doesn't see any success for herself. And so we talked about during our 6-week intensive, this issue came up for her. She was going to be traveling. And we talk about an approach that really felt uncomfortable for her, but created a different outcome. And that at the end of the day is what the From Sabotage to Success intensive is about. It's about identifying the thought loops that you constantly fall victim to. And often in our coaching together, what comes out is different solutions that you will say make you very uncomfortable. You say, hey, Heather, I don't feel comfortable. I would not have selected to do this. But what you know is that if it's uncomfortable, it doesn't kill you. It doesn't cause any problems. It just makes you uncomfortable, that you will get a different response. And that is what is necessary. If you're stuck in a perpetual loop of, I do this thing, I keep getting this result, I don't like it, I can't figure it out, I don't understand what I'm doing wrong, I keep doing the same thing, and yet I want a different result. Well, that in of its definition is insanity, right? If we keep trying to do something the same way every time and we keep getting the same result, but we're frustrated, it doesn't make any sense. But your lower brain doesn't have to make sense. It just wants to keep you in a habit, comfortable. So these intensives are huge because not only are you being exposed to material that helps challenge your thoughts and create, a new perspective, but you're hearing other people working through these issues, these same repetitive thoughts that you have. And like the one you're going to hear for Erin today, we come up with a solution that's way outside her comfort zone, but she gives it a shot and she gets a different outcome. So she starts to move away from that habit cycle that she's in. All right. So if, again, you are interested in being a part of our next intensive, which could be this one if there's a seat available, From Sabotage to Success, you just go to halfsizeme.com/success, SUCCESS, and you'll see one of two options. Either one, you'll grab a seat and you'll get checked out and you'll be all set to go, or it'll be full and you will put your name and email address in. And then the next time I run this, you will be the first to know. All right, without any further ado, let's go into Erin's interview From Sabotage to Success. You have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon. All right, lovely listeners. Today we have Miss Erin on the line with us, and Erin is super gracious in sharing her time with us to discuss the Sabotage to Success 6-week intensive. So Erin, if you wouldn't mind, say hi to the listeners, but then maybe take us back prior to the 6-week intensive and tell us what was going on for you personally that maybe prompted you to want to join. Like, what was it that you were contending with that you felt maybe the intensive could give you some clarity around?
Okay. Hi, everybody. When Heather first introduced the possibility of this course of getting some more individualized help, but not quite one-on-one coaching, that very much intrigued me. That's kind of all I knew Heather was about the lower brain, but didn't know exactly what I was going to get into. And so this was, I just was looking forward to that small group setting, the more individualized coaching, trying to be better in this weight loss journey, trying to lose at a slightly faster rate. Maybe the better term is more consistency. Lose weight with more consistency, because I knew consistency was an issue for me. So jumped at the chance, was very excited for it. And then we got into it, and it was much more lower brain than I anticipated it would be, but that ended up being an awesome thing. I loved being exposed to all the teachers that Heather exposed us to. I loved hearing the different voices and the different perspectives and the different ways of thinking about it. Um, so yeah, sorry, I think I might have jumped ahead a bit.
No, no, that's totally fine. So really what intrigued you the most initially was the small group aspect, which is
Yes.
interesting because some of the other people who have done interviews with me, it was they kind of didn't love that, and that was not their
Oh,
initial. They felt very apprehensive, like, "I'm not gonna share, I'm just gonna listen," kinda thing.
mm,
So it's really intriguing that that was something that drew you in, and
yes.
then it sounds like you were like, "Wow, this is really, really lower brain driven," and so through the course of that 6 weeks, what do you feel by maybe listening to the other group members, like, did you from their experience and what they were sharing and what we were learning, did you maybe see your mind in a different way than you had prior?
Yes, it reinforces the idea that this is common experiences for all of us. That we all hear the same or very similar lower brain chatter. It really drove that home for me. Things that weren't necessarily weight loss related. I remember one of the members sharing about an incident with her child and or her grown child, and just the thought she was having, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I've had very similar thoughts, and my child's not grown." Just the commonality between it all, which helps reinforce the idea that this is not us speaking to us. This is
Mm.
the lower brain is a completely its own little gremlin entity that 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 talks to all of us the same. I actually early on in the course I had this visual in my mind when you were discussing something during one of our coaching calls of an old school phone operator, with
Mhm,
all the wires and plugging into all the different holes connecting the lines, if you can imagine
mhm,
that in your head. But I
mhm.
imagine the phone operator as the lower brain saying the same thing over and over, and let me plug into this person, let me plug into this person. But I'm just the same thing saying, over and over to just all these random people.
Yeah, 100%, and one that I've always appreciated about you sharing in the intensive was you would bring real world examples, like, "Okay, I see I do this thing repetitively, how can I start to think about this, see this differently?" And one of them, if I'm not mistaken, was like, I think it had something to do with you traveling and planning
Yes.
your food, correct? Would you
Yes.
mind sharing that here, kind of like
Yeah.
maybe how that had been a repetitive pattern for you? And then as we discussed it and looked at some alternate ways of dealing with it, which probably made you very uncomfortable. And when I say you, I don't mean you, I mean, of course, the repetitive lower brain chatter. But like, how did that show up for you?
Yeah, so I had a habit of going on vacation and at least having the mindset of I'm not going to lose during vacation. I knew I'd try and maintain, but not being realistic with the amount of calories I'm actually going to consume while on vacation, while out of
Mhm.
town. And just trying to keep myself at maintenance. And yet, every single time I would go over maintenance.
Mhm.
My maintenance calories at least multiple days, if not the entire time. I'd be so good and then, quote unquote, so good. And then uh, I'd let it all go at some point. So, being much more realistic, you help me see just do something different and plan that 4,500 calorie day, as
Mhm.
you've referenced in many YouTube videos and podcasts, and
Mhm.
you've referenced it many times. And so I went out of town. I was gone for 5 days and I planned 4,500 calories for each day. And oh my gosh, when I
Mhm.
wrote that down in my spreadsheet of pre planning 4,500 calories for each day, super uncomfortable. I'm like,
Mhm.
that's ridiculous. I'm not
Mhm.
going to do that. Um,
Yeah.
super uncomfortable. Also, what was also uncomfortable was well, so I planned that. I went out of town, and the first day went a little hog wild because I'm like, I've got 4,500 calories.
Mhm.
I can do whatever I want. So it went a little hog wild, but still didn't end up at 4,500. It
Mm.
still was less than that. And then after that first day, it was like I kept my habits of I wanted a solid breakfast, protein forward, fruits and or vegetables at every meal, drinking lots of water, kept those core habits, but then just kind of paid attention to, am I really hungry? Do I really want this? And
Mhm.
um, went over maintenance every day, but
Right.
not 4,500.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is what people don't see and why when I say these things in the videos, like, yes, I'm talking to you too, and yes, I know your brain's gonna tell you that this doesn't apply to you, but it does, is because all your mind ever regurgitates is what it knows. It's what it's already done. So your mind will always go to the past and say, well, when we go on vacation, this is what we do. We plan to maintenance.
Mhm.
But if every time the result is you are exceeding maintenance and you feel horrible about yourself, and for a lot of people, they even abandon tracking altogether, right? They just say, well, what's the point? Then what you kind of have to do is something different. But your mind's never going to come in and say, oh, yeah, you can't, you have a hard time hitting maintenance, go for 4,500. It will never do that, and it's gonna feel wildly uncomfortable, but what I have learned over time of coaching people one-on-one is that's really the only way you elicit change. It's to do something that is usually counter to the messaging you're getting from the past. Was that
Mhm.
something that became maybe more clear to you as you were kind of seeing that as one example, but maybe other areas of your life that it would apply to?
I can't say that I've applied it necessarily to other areas of my life since then, but yes, the message is becoming more clear. I think we get so stuck in our ruts and it's so hard to get out of them. I am trying to see things differently and
Mhm.
trying to see how I can do things differently to not get stuck in the same habit. It's just really hard to recognize that habit. I didn't recognize what I was doing on vacation as a habit per se. It
Yeah.
was just I thought I was doing the right thing, and you're like,
Mhm.
"Stop. You plan
Yeah.
the 4,500 day." And that was, "Oh, okay." So
Yeah.
I'm going out, I'm having a long weekend away next weekend, and I'm planning 4,500 for every day.
Mhm.
I have a work conference at the end of the month. I'm planning 4,500 for every day. That'll be my new go-to.
Yeah. Yeah, and what's cool is that'll continue to morph for you because what was interesting, you said you had your one hog wild day, but then you notice the next day it's like, "Well, wait, I wanna have my solid breakfast and I want my fruits and vegetables." But when you feel restricted and you're repeating a same seemingly restrictive pattern, your mind never can see those other things as well
Mhm.
because it's still in that same habit loop of we're feeling restricted, we're on vacation, we're only going up to maintenance, I'm gonna keep this contained, and then it's usually a rebelliousness that shows up, right? So it's by shifting the way you handle it, you open up to new possibilities of new thoughts to show up.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
that's amazing. And one of the things that I know that creates a lot of resistance for people around this is really thinking they're the ones generating all their thoughts. Well, wait a minute. If my mind's saying it, it must be me. It must be coming from me. I must be in control in some way. And that's why one of our assignments in the 6 week intensive was for you to actively try to control your thoughts. I was curious to hear either from your own perspective or hearing other people sharing about it. How did that maybe help you start to see this whole mind thing a little bit differently?
It helped because I realized I can't control them, right? That exercise we did of, I believe it was just have no thoughts for 10 seconds. And then I forget the specifics that we went through in that call, but I just couldn't do it at
Mhm,
all. So it was, oh, okay. Um, Recently, I forget what happened, but something happened. And I thought back to your talking about, well, I was trying to predict the future. I was trying to
mhm.
predict what was going to happen, what the outcome was going to be on something. And I remembered you saying, well, if we could predict the future, why didn't we predict COVID? Why did, and so, right. Hello, Erin. Yes, I didn't know COVID was coming.
Yes.
So I feel like the change for me is slow, but
Yeah.
consistent.
Mhm.
I can see it happening. I'm continuing to take in some of those other teachers that you exposed us to, and it's just being really helpful in little ways. I see the lower brain showing up in other people, and I know that it's like That's okay. That's them to deal with, not for me. That's not for me and my lower brain to get stuck on.
Yeah.
Um, but it is, I just really appreciate everything you taught us, and I'm just continuing to learn from it.
No, I so love that because I don't know if you got a chance to listen to the last recording, but what I actually said is this isn't the end. This is the beginning of your
Yeah.
journey. Like this 6 weeks was more about laying a foundation of, like you said, exposure to multiple teachers to kind of make you start questioning things in a different way, whether it's the stories or the perspective of the reality you're in. It was to give you, I know we did the fun writing assignment where we wrote a letter to our brain after we became more aware of how it's all working, just so we can start to see this whole process differently. But honestly, I've been working on this for more than 5 years and I learn something new all the time, whether it's just a shift in my own perspective. And that's the important thing I want people to realize. It's not like anything you learn is going to, one, turn that voice off or make it go away, or two, that means you're not continuing to work on it. It's becoming acquainted with the mind, which I always think people should. You get a user's manual for your microwave, you get a user's manual for your lawnmower. Who gave us a user's manual for our brain so we have an idea of what's even going on up there? it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
we're all driving in the dark and wondering why we're
Mhm.
having problems, right? Like, and
Mhm.
that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to kind of be exposed to this in a more intensive way, but so you would have a launching pad to move forward with. And during the 6 weeks, did your mind ever creep in and say, oh, you're not doing enough, you're not, completing enough assignments, you need to show up to this more often? Did you ever combat that? Because we covered that in the orientation.
Yes, 100%. So when I signed up for this, I looked at my workload, I looked at my schedule, I blocked time off. I was like, this is going to be great. It's a good time at work. I can totally do this. A week into it, I took a different job, and it
Oh,
threw
wow.
and well, a different role that I was supposed to have a month to transition to,
Mhm.
and then I was told no, transition today. And so it threw me for an absolute loop, specific in general, in work and life, but also with this. Oh no, I
Yeah.
don't, I have a meeting right after our coaching calls. I can't stick around and absorb things. I can't do this. I don't have
Yeah.
time for that. Oh, 100%. And I even posted very early on of, I feel like I'm not keeping up. However, I know I need to be here. So I'm just going to
Mhm.
keep showing up every day, doing what I can.
Oh, see, this is what I love. In just what you shared with me here, that proves the point you just made a minute ago where you noticed how your mind was trying to predict something that's going on for you currently in this moment, and you're like, "Well, we didn't know COVID was gonna happen." Well, like you just said, when you made all these plans, man, you checked your schedule, you were gonna take
Mm,
time off, you were gonna make this available. You had no idea that that new job that you were gonna take was
yep.
gonna start a month early, and yet it did. And see, and this is the problem. Often we put off doing things that are good for us until some future time when things seem like they'll be peaceful and quiet and, oh, we'll have all this. That's never going to happen. Like life
Yeah.
just keeps happening. You're better off to dive in, take action on what you can, let the rest go, and realize that you're in a constant state of morphing. It's like we're constantly learning new things, changing, and we're never going to be able to be 100% what we think in the future. It's going to be what it's going to be. And that's a hard one, right? Because we always want to believe we can control these outcomes.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I've been contemplating joining a gym and
yes.
doing the research and thinking about, oh, well, maybe, and then my son came to me and said, I really want to join a gym. I want to get into strength training. And I said, okay, that right there was the impetus I needed. No more planning.
Yes.
No more. We're joining.
Take action. I love
Yes.
that. Yeah, and so let me ask this, so as we were going through the 6-week intensive, and I know you really, really appreciated the group environment, did you feel like as you were working through it, did you see, like, how maybe your mind was talking to you about food and things of that nature before? And does it see like, are you more aware of it now when it's using that to help you feel better? Because that was one of the things we covered is your mind will always want you to feel feel better. And I think for a lot of people, they create a lot of stress and anxiety by trying to overthink the future and problem solve. And it creates a scenario where the food comes in. Do you see any of that
Yeah.
differently at this point for you?
Yeah, just saw that this week.
Cool.
This week at work has been nuts with a tremendous amount of changes, and I found myself wanting to snack, wanting something snacky, just at multiple points in the afternoon and the evening. And I would just say to myself a couple different things, learn from you. It's not my plan. I can have it later if I want for my treat. But also, this is just a thought, and just don't give it any space for 10 minutes and it'll be gone. And sure enough, it
Mhm.
was. And it might have showed up a few hours later. And then I guided myself through the same thing. Give myself 10 minutes. It's just a thought. One of my co group, co co people in the group, one of
Yeah.
my peers in the group gave a beautiful analogy of laying on the grass and watching the clouds go by, and how to you the cloud looks like a dog. And you ask the person next to you, what does it look like? And they said, oh, it looks like a dragon to them. But sure enough, that cloud keeps moving and it keeps morphing, and eventually it's gone. And that's just like our thoughts. And
Mm.
I loved that analogy. It really hit home for me.
That is huge. And what I loved in what you said, you kept saying just give it 10 minutes. And for often the reason people give in to that initial urge is because they think it's never going to go away. They think now not only do I have to deal with the difficulty at work, whatever the difficulty is, but now I got this pesky urge that's just going to not leave me alone like a fly, right? And one of the things I really hope to convey in this is that all thoughts are very transient. They don't stick with us. How did that perception shift for you to where you were able to have the clarity of thought to say, just give it 10 minutes? Like, was it in the past, did you struggle with thinking it was never going to go away and just by eating and giving in, it would help alleviate some of the pressure? And now it looks different to you?
I think in the past, as in years ago in the past, it would be I had a thought, I acted on it.
Mhm,
There was no, well, the thought can change and the thought isn't
mhm,
me and the thought will go by.
mhm.
And you've been hammering that point home for years for me. Again, for me, the change is small but consistent. And so
Mhm.
the sabotage for success again helped cement those ideas, but those ideas have been building.
Brewing. Mhm.
Yeah, brewing.
Yeah, no, and every time you actively act on it like you did with this work dilemma that showed up for you, you reinforce that neuro connection, which is
Mm,
the ability in the moment to slow down, pause, not immediately react. And did you get a chance to hear me talking about how the analogy of it, how it's like you're pressed up against a TV screen, but you don't realize you're pressed up against the TV screen and you're
yes.
in the room. And then you back up a little bit and you go, oh, I'm in a room and there's a TV in the room. And then you back up again. I see that as being the natural progression of this, where everyone, for the most part, is smashed up against the TV and they think they're in the TV, like that's the
Mm.
world, and then they're backing up. Did that analogy sit with you based on what you just shared with us?
Um, a bit.
Mhm.
Of a bit. I'll be honest, the cloud analogy has sat better
Sat
with
with
me
you.
more than anything, but to be fair, that came at the end of
Ah,
the
okay.
intensive. So my brain was maybe more open. I
Yeah.
was ready to receive it in a better place.
No,
But
that's awesome.
yeah.
No, and that's why, this is why, because I am a teacher at heart, I wanted you guys to have so many teachers to hear from, because when I was learning about this, total transparency, there's some of the teachers I exposed you guys to, when I heard them talk, I had no idea what they were talking about. I'm like,
Yeah.
"What? Like, this makes no sense. Like,
Yeah.
I don't get this." And what it was, it's a slow for me, it was a slow evolution of, I hear this now, it makes no sense. I go back to the people I kind of am understanding stuff better from. And then later on, maybe a year later, 6 months later, I go back to this other teacher and wait a minute, what didn't make any sense 6 months
Mhm.
ago, I'm starting to get it now. I'm starting to
Mhm.
see what's going on here. And that's to me what this is like. It's like there's going to be some teachers that right away they speak and you're like, "Oh, I get it." Like that makes perfect
Mhm.
sense. That analogy sits with me or whatever. But then other ones you're like, "Are they speaking English? I don't know."
Yes.
And then over time, your perception changes because you become more aware of this for yourself, and that changes how the teachers show up. Is that
Mhm.
how you saw all the different teachers?
Absolutely. Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. And I was so glad that you shared that was your experience. And it was like, okay, it's okay. I'm
Yeah.
not broken. It's okay that I don't, one in particular you showed us a few times. I'm like, I do not get this guy. Like he
Yes.
is not my jam. And,
Yeah.
but, even Amy Johnson, I've been like hit or miss with, but
Yeah.
now I get her better.
Yep.
Um, I have found for me personally, Byron Katie,
Yeah.
but not just her in general. She specifically goes through scenarios with people on her podcast. And
Yes.
I have loved those to
Mhm.
hear other people work through the problem
Mhm.
and really think about is it true?
Yep.
What if it isn't? I've learned so much from listening to that.
Oh, yes. And that's where I started too. I wasn't even with Amy Johnson or any of those. I started with Byron Katie. I read all of her books on audio, and then I would just listen repetitively to all these
Mhm,
calls she did with people. And that for a long time, for a good 6 months, that's all I listened to. And what I really started what that introduced me to was just questioning my stories, like questioning my initial perspective of things. Like, is this even true? Right. And I got
mhm.
so repetitive with myself of asking those 5 questions, and then that just led into the next teacher, and it led into the next teacher. And what you start to realize is the thing we think is permanent, like real tangible thoughts, it's truly they're just fleeting, and they go so quickly. They're not real. And that's
Yeah,
that's that's a really big lesson to learn. So no, I'm so glad that somebody resonated with you and all that.
yeah.
Now I was curious for somebody who's listening to this and they feel apprehensive. Maybe they don't like the group environment, or maybe they're afraid of making a financial investment, or they're feeling like, they think they've heard everything. This is one of the big ones I hear. I've heard you talk
Mhm.
about this before, Heather. I know, I'm just not doing it. What would you say to somebody who is kind of stuck there, as far as your experience with it, and what the way that you saw it and how it was helpful for you?
Yeah. I love a small group, so I'm not sure that I think they're great. I think it's wonderful to try and get people to know people on a better level, to be able to watch their journey and see how you can apply it to yourself.
Mhm.
So, financially, I mean, this was awesome because you painted the right picture in terms of this is a foundation. This is truly just the foundation of you gave us the tools to be able to learn for the rest of our life.
Mhm.
This is that's what I'm taking from this.
Mhm.
No question, it was financially worth it. From a I think from a learning perspective and what I took away, again, I'm going to take this for the rest of my life. Like this
Mhm.
is you've given me the tools and the resources to help build upon this,
That's
and to keep learning about this and just keep ultimately making me better slash happier slash more content and peaceful. Um, because it was yeah.
that's awesome. Well, I'm so grateful you were willing to come on today and share and just give us some insight as to what the experience was like for you. It was awesome having you in the group because I felt like you asked some really good, relatable questions that other people were able to learn from too. So I just want to say a very big thank you to you for participating and for sharing your experience.
Oh, thank you. Oh, the other thing you said was sorry, I knew there was something
Okay.
else you said about it. I've already heard it all.
Yes.
Yes, you might have, but this is building. This is like
Yeah.
this is Legos, you just keep building and building
Yeah.
and making it bigger and bigger and better. And
Yeah.
it's gonna keep hitting you in a different way. And this is help other things hit me in just a different way. And I just keep building on it. So it was
That's
great.
awesome.
Thank you, Heather. The group was great. I'm so glad you did it. I'm so glad to hear you're going to do it again because
Yeah.
I think a lot of other people will really benefit from this.
Thank you so much, Erin. You have a great day, and thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to visit halfsizeme.com. Check back often for your daily dose of inspiration because you are worth it.
The information you hear on this podcast is for informational purposes only. The host is not a medical professional. You should always consult with your doctor, nurse, or other certified health professional before beginning any diet or fitness program.